So this is my beloved HVR-Z1 and I love this camera, I really do. I've been filming quite a few videos with it, I love it. But there's one thing about it that drives me nuts, and it's this screen here. First of all, it's not a bad screen per se, but it's a bit small, and it's also, it's hard to say, but the image on it just looks really bad, and I think that's just because it's downscaled and it's probably not using the best algorithm for downscaling, considering this camera is pretty damn old. But that's really annoying. Whenever I want to use this camera, I have to deal with that as the viewfinder, essentially. I mean, I can always close it and deal with this instead, but honestly I think the viewfinder is not very good either. See, I've not got great eyesight, clearly, nor does this mirrorless camera, which can't focus. Well done, you get an award rather. So I needed a proper monitor, but there is a problem, and it's on this side of the camera right here. No HDMI, no SDI. All we've got is S-video, composite and audio, and a component which is on a weird connector. So what are we going to do? So I actually managed to get one of these component cables. Now these things are quite funky looking. They're kind of like a mini DisplayPort, but even smaller. I'm sorry if you can't see this, but this camera's terrible at focusing. And on the other end we have components, so all you need to know is that this can actually do 1080i, and with this short distance cable you probably wouldn't know the difference between this analog and a digital form like SDI or HDMI. The only thing is, if I want to use this, I need to find a monitor that has component, and that is surprisingly difficult for some reason. And here is a monitor with a component input. This is the Marshall V-LCD70P-HDMI, and this is actually pretty decent when it comes to field monitors. I already had a field monitor. It's from a company called Must HD. It only had HDMI and composite, so it wasn't great, and it was also only 5 inches. This is a full 7 inches, so this is actually a huge upgrade for me. I don't have the best eyesight, so using this with the Z1, it's a literal dream. I don't even need to explain how this is so much better. This also has a lot of cool features in it, being a semi-professional monitor. Things like this false colours. I have no idea how to use it, but it's there. It's also got focus peaking, which is quite nice, because the built-in focus peaking on Mr. Z1 here is basically useless, and it's not output over the component anyway. So let's take a look around this monitor. So on the front here we've got quite a few buttons. I quite like the interface on here. It's really simple. You turn it on, you can select your input, you've got some function buttons, a very simple menu that you almost never enter, and these controls which you almost never need to touch anyway, because if you do, it puts it out of calibration. So if we look on the back though, this is where all the fun is. So you can see this uses a Sony lithium battery, specifically lithium M, which is incredibly annoying. I would rather it use the Sony MPF batteries, because that's what the camera uses, that's what some video lights I've got use. It's just more convenient that way. But I'm not going to complain, because this did come with this huge lithium battery with a built-in battery gauge on it. It's a genuine Sony, and I also got a genuine Sony charger as well with it, so I've kind of lucked out here. I probably spent it probably would have cost me more to get the battery and the charger separate than it would have been to buy this monitor. Crazy. It also has a XLR port down there for 12 volt power, and pinouts on the side there, and also there's the actual physical power switch, which is very nice. It means that your battery isn't drained when it's in your bag. And here's the inputs. So we've got YPB-PR, that's your component input, and obviously an output there, composite video and HDMI. As you can see, the Panasonic camera here has decided, there we go, you're finally in focus. Welcome back. This is what it was like when I had to use a rubbish camera that's not actually professional. I've now got fingerprints all over it. God damn it. So as you can see, it also came with this Sunshield Sun Shroud, whatever it's called, which looks really good, but I haven't actually had a chance to test it simply because it's not very sunny outside. I have used this outside without the sun shield and it was really clear, but that was kind of like late afternoon, so wasn't direct sunlight. I'd love to see how this sun shield works in the real world, because that's a deep opening there. That should really cut down on reflections and make the image just look brighter. So here we are with the Z1 connected. You can see it's just plugged in the back there on the component, and it's outputting the colour bars that you see there. You can also see the time code on the tape there. And when the tape's like all loaded up ready to record, it will have the standby and it'll show when it's recording. So that's very handy info to have when you're using this as an actual kind of viewfinder. So I can actually turn the bars off here. If we turn the bars off, you won't see anything because the lens is shut. There we go. There's my desk. And that's a really clear image, especially through this camera. Wow, it's like camera reception. Let's see if I can prop this up. So as you can see, there we go. We've got the image on there. And that looks really good, especially to my naked eye here. You can see a lot of detail on there. You can actually see up here 1080i on the YBPR input here. We also have composite, but obviously I'm not outputting anything there. Same for HDMI and YBPR, and it's quite quick at changing them inputs. So as you can see, we've got F1, F2, F3, F4, and some of these I've got set up like that's false colours. Does that tell you anything? Let's put the bars back. That just looks weird. We've also got focus peak in there, which as you can see is actually a lot better. We can actually see some lines on there, whereas the one on the Z1 is practically useless. We've got a zoom feature. That's basically 1-to-1 pixels there, so that's quite zoomed in. That's quite good for getting your focus right. You can turn that off. And what's F1 do? Oh, F1 changes between 16:9 and 4:3. That's quite handy. So we've obviously got a little menu here. I'll have a quick look in here. It's kind of hard to get around there. This might be a two-handed operation. So as you can see here, I really don't think you can see that. There we go, you can kind of see it now. I'm really sorry if there's any flicker though, because I've had to raise the shutter speed. So in here we've got colour temperature, RGB bias, check field's quite a handy one. So we've got mono, there's the blue, the green and the red. So that's quite handy if you've got some weird colour issues you need to check. Pixel to pixel, that's the zoom. We've got some delays and underscan. I don't usually touch any of that stuff. Markers are quite handy, so we've got like the centre marker. You can kind of see that there, it's quite a handy one. I think we're on full screen at the moment, which is why you can see the 95% safe around the edge there. So we can go through there, we've got 80, 85, 88, 90, 93, 95 and off. And if you do 16:9, there's some other ones as well, so let's switch to 16:9. So in here we've got the same ones, but we've also got that wide aspect ratio there. Yeah, that even wider one, 14:9, 13:9, 4:3 and off. So that's quite a good selection in there. Marker background, I genuinely don't know what marker background does. Like I can't, oh, it cuts it off. Ah, that's actually quite a handy feature, but I probably won't use that simply because it cuts off my time up there. It'd be nice if there was one that had like, it made the image mono or something outside the markers. That would be useful, but I don't think there's any firmware updates for this anymore. Also, you can see my sticker is coming off. I need to find a way to stick that back on. So here's the false colours. We've got the focus peaking and mosquito filter. I can't figure out what this does. probably something really cool when you figure it out. And then in here we've got all the options for our F1, F2, F3, F4. We've got an option to freeze the input. That could be handy, I guess. If you're a one-man operation, you could freeze the input, go do some change and come back and unfreeze it. I don't really know. Then we've got Hdmi Input, which obviously I can't do. This is version 1.16 on the firmware. I can't find any other versions to test. It's possible that there's a newer version that I don't have. So yes, that's a very quick video on this little Marshall monitor. I really quite like using it, and if you combine it with a little ball joint here like this, you can mount it on top of the Z1 and use it as a really big viewfinder. The only problem is the cold shoe mount on the Z1 is practically useless, and it will kind of wobble a bit, and it's really annoying. I actually saw a Z1 that was ex-BBC, and they'd actually had an adapter screwed onto the camera to give it a proper cold shoe where the handle is, and I kind of wish I could do that to mine, but I don't want to risk damaging my camera just for a better cold shoe mount. So there you go. That's the Marshall monitor.